What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. Happy to be with you talking golf. A little bit of a letdown factor in play this week, the week after a major, but of course we have to recap the Open Championship a little bit as well. And to do that, you have the usual two suspects here tonight. Justin Van Zuiden, that's me, STL Cardinals 84. Derek Farnsworth, a.k.a. Notorious. That's him alongside. Noto, what's going on?
Yeah, not much. You would think Brian Harman, my guy, winning the Open would be a special Sunday for me, but it was one of the worst Sundays I can remember in terms of, my bets and how they ended up. So still tilting a little bit from the Open, and obviously didn't provide a lot of drama for TV on Sunday.
Yeah, that was a boring final round. I think he led by 4 or 5 basically the whole final round. The only real drama you got was when he bogeyed, number 2, one of the first 2 holes. And then, it was smooth sailing from there for Brian Harman, which I'm sure was just fine by him to go ahead and have a stress-free major championship at very long shot odds. And we've had that kind of be a theme this year in some of the bigger tournaments. So kudos to Brian Harman for getting it done. And even though it wasn't, the most spectacular viewing on Sunday, and of course it was raining, I could not live in Scotland. I could not do it. I couldn't live basically probably anywhere in that general area, wherever they hold all the Opens, because you cannot go like 2 days without rain, and that just isn't for me. So I don't know. I need sunshine. But Brian Harman gets the win. You had a group of golfers that just couldn't get close enough. You feel like if somebody could have got to like 9 under through 9 or 10, maybe that would have put the pressure on them a little bit, but just didn't really have anybody make that push.
Yeah, who didn't make the push is Victor Hovland and Tommy Fleetwood, 2 of the worst Sundays I can remember. Well, I mean, Tommy was fine until 17, but had top 10s on both of them. They both fell out. And then, Rahm and everyone else right up there. I mean, Sepp Straka and Tom Kim were like giving him the best sweat that he could have. Like, none of the big guys ended up showing up on Sunday, so that was a little disappointing. And then, so after all my bets fell apart, so I had a top 40 parlay. Nobody wants to hear my bad beat story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. And I had Moronk in it. It was 20-1. I only needed 3 guys. Moronk went like 4 under on Sunday to get inside the top 40. And then Jordan Smith finished T41. So that ruined that parlay. And then I also had an outright on Patrick Rogers, who I don't know if you watched the Barracuda.
I didn't watch it, but I followed the end.
He led for like 15 holes. Akshay birdies 18. Then they go to a playoff, and his drive lands in a divot that wasn't all the way filled with sand. So it was a Sunday for sure.
Well, we'll look to wipe that clean, hopefully, and move on to a new week. Other notable finishes. Some of these guys that finished inside the top 10. Sepp Straka, probably one of the more notable finishes inside the top 5 there. He's having a really solid summer. T2 for him. Jason Day had a really solid week. Grillo inside the top 10 as well. Sharma was another guy that just played pretty steady throughout the 4 days. So, maybe saw a little better scoring, particularly on Saturday with the wind. They didn't exactly use the most difficult hole locations on Saturday, but still impressive performances from some of those guys. Scheffler didn't do anything all week, barely squeaked through the cut, but somehow backdoored another top 25 finish, finishing T23 with a really good round on Sunday. And you just had a whole bunch of guys kind of in that middling tier. Spieth, Fowler, Oosthuizen, Scheffler were all even par at the end of the tournament. Cam Smith made an eagle on his final hole on Friday to make the cut. Patrick Reed, Patrick Cantlay all finished +1. So just guys that were not able to get up and challenge the contender, I guess, singular, come Sunday. A few notable names that missed the cut last week. Colin Morikawa missed on the number. Thigala, Joaquin Niemann missed by a couple strokes. Justin Rose was one of the bigger disappointments last week. Shane Lowry, conditions that he usually plays well in, was well back of the cut line. And, I think the topic that just has to be discussed at this point. I mean, how worried are we about Justin Thomas? Like, this is Ricky Fowler from a couple of years ago at this point. And Justin Thomas now, he's playing this week because with the new format, he's outside the playoff line, which is coming up here shortly. So Justin Thomas is playing this week because he's 75th in the FedEx Cup standings. And, he went out in the first round at the Open and shot an 82. So is Justin Thomas like unplayable at this point?
I don't know if I'd go that far, but he's got extra pressure on him. And we always talk about, extra motivation doesn't always lead to success. He's got to play well the next week or two to get into the playoffs. It feels like the movie Final Destination, where everyone in the little spring break trip they went on was just hit by the golf curse. First it was Smiley, and then we haven't seen much from Speed. Ricky went through his thing, and now it's JT's turn. So at least he has friends that have been through the up and downs. He knows, what he has to do. He still sounds confident. I don't know if you heard his presser after Thursday's round. He said, nobody out there hit the shots that I did that shot an 81 or whatever. So he was still very confident in his skills, which is probably what he needs to be at this point. But yeah, I'm definitely worried about him. I don't know if he's going to make the Ryder Cup team now that, Brian Harman's probably going to get in on points. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. With
all the options the U.S. has, he shouldn't make the Ryder Cup team right now. I know it's weird, but I mean, it's not just a participation thing. And, hey, you played before. With all the names that they have, I just don't see how he deserves the spot at the moment. And that's not trying to hate on Justin Thomas. I don't have anything against him, but just really interesting to see the way his summer has gone. And then to start with an 82. To his credit, he played pretty good in the second round, even par, but you weren't recovering from an opening 82. All right, anything else from the tournament last week? It was a huge 6-6 week in DFS. I faded the chalk Bobby Mack. I was kind of tilted when he made it through the cut. A few other guys that were fairly popular that kind of snuck their way through. So, and I didn't play any Harman. So my winnings at the end of the week consisted of $8. I was happy to get $8 back, and we'll move on to this week. So it wasn't my finest week.
Yeah, your $8 was 8 more than mine, so be happy with that. And other takeaways, Stenson with a good week. Cam Young gained 17 strokes ball striking. The next closest was 10.4. Pretty incredible. If he would have putted even just decent, he would have been the winner. And then your boy Ryan Fox, we have to bring him up. 7 over after day one and battled back to make the cut.
I thought he was a sitting duck there at after Thursday, and I looked at the end of Friday and I see I've got a 6-6 lineup. I'm like, which lineup has got 6 out of 6? Because I had basically crossed off the one that had Fox on it. So yeah, and not that he did much over the weekend, but nice battle back there to get a payday for him.
Yep, certainly was. Did you like the course? I thought the course was awesome. It just didn't provide the best finish.
Yeah, the course was fine. It's what you get with links golf, and Harman was just so far ahead. I mean, the bunkers were what everybody said. You're basically pitching out, or depending on where you're at, lucky if you get out. Yeah, I had no issues with the course, and just if it would have been if you would have taken Harman out of the picture, I mean, there would have been like 10 guys in the mix. Obviously we can't do that, but yeah, I think that everybody would be talking about, how great that finish was if it weren't for Harman running away with it. So.
Yep. What about Rory? Is Rory ever going to put 4 rounds together again at a major?
I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, and he was pretty good on Sunday. He was probably
classic Rory. Made like 3 early birdies, get everyone excited, and then couldn't make any putts after that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think part of it's just expectations are so high that, if a T6 finish at a major is a disappointment, I think you're doing something right. But yeah, I think he'll get one. I think he'll get one next year, but it's probably got to be, pretty soon, because it's not like the competition's going anywhere, especially if Scheffler stays in the form that he has been in this year. And if Scheffler figures out the putter, like, if Scheffler would have been going through this year with a decent putter, I mean, we'd be talking about one of the best seasons you've seen in a decade. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. He's missing the hole from like 3 feet, not even touching the hole, which is something that I do on the golf course. So,
well, there you go. You're just like Scheffler.
minus the tee to green part, just like Scheffler.
All right, let's go ahead and transition to a new week. We've got the 3M Open. We come back from the Open Championship across the ocean and get a tournament in Minnesota, which is a little bit strange, but that's the way the schedule breaks. Obviously, somewhat of a weaker field here with it being the week after a major, but I must admit it's a little more exciting than I would have originally expected. Of course, you got guys trying to jockey their way into the FedEx Cup playoffs. That's a primary motivator for some guys at this point, but the field isn't horrible. Obviously not to the strength that we've seen in the elevated events and the majors, but there are some options and different price points for us to consider this week. So why don't you tell everybody what we got for a course here this week?
Yeah, I actually like this course quite a bit. It's TPC, Twin Cities, par 71, just over 7,400 yards. Last 4 winners have each been at least 15 under par, but there's going to be a lot of bogeys and doubles out there because it's one of the most penalizing courses on the PGA Tour. Water's everywhere. It's in play on 15 holes, and it's not like some water hazards where if you hit it in the water, you can just drop, right up by the green and then get up and down for bogey. Like a lot of these, you're carrying the water. So if you hit it in the water, you're basically hitting from the same shot. So it's like a 2-shot penalty. And provides a good finish. There's a drivable par 4 there. I think it's 16 or 17, and then 18 is a lot of fun. If you hit a good drive, you're going to be hitting your second just right over the water. And we've seen guys make like 11, 13, something like that because they just keep hitting that same shot onto the green and keep missing. So good finish. There's going to be a lot of birdies, going to be a lot of eagles. The green's pretty average size. The fairways, they are pretty wide, but again, total driving is probably your best bet because you do not want to stray too far off the fairways. And I'm not sure if the past winners have really given us a good idea of what it takes to win here because, Finau and Champ, both the years that they won, they gained a bunch of strokes putting, but they're not really good putters. And then you have Michael Thompson, who's kind of an outlier. Then you have Matthew Wolff, who kind of fits the build of Champ and Finau. So
yeah. I mean, I think that's at least something to say for you can make a case for distance being an advantage here. Not that it's the be-all, end-all by any means, but you bring up a good point about the fact that it was their putters and not necessarily just all strokes off the tee those victories. And I'm with you. These are the courses that are fun. Like if you can have a 4-shot swing in one hole, somebody hits one in the water and somebody makes an eagle or something. All of a sudden, boom, you got an eagle and a double bogey and you got a 4-shot swing. Like we all talk about, we don't love the birdie fest. Well, we don't love the birdie fest when there's no trouble. These courses that can yield birdies, but then also yield high scores. I think for the most part, almost every golf fan finds these types of venues entertaining. What was it? Congaree that was played a few years ago was kind of like that. We all like that course and want that in the rotation every year. There's a few others, obviously, but I'm with you. I like this course. I like this tournament, and I think it should be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun. If you're looking at calm courses, I don't mind going with the Florida angle just because there's a lot of water on those courses. I'm also looking at East Lake. That's one of the ones that Data Golf had as one of their calm courses. And I think that's just about it. Over 60% of approach shots were from 125 to 200 last year. So not a lot of long approach shots and not a lot of, short wedges. So if you want to look at those middle irons, I don't mind that.
All right. And if you're with us in the chat, we will get a snake draft at the end of the show tonight. We'll get back to doing that here this week. So stick around and we'll grab one of those at the end of the show. All right. Let's start digging in. We've got 4 golfers up above 10K this week. Cameron Young, Tony Finau, Sungjae Im, Hideki Matsuyama, of course, everybody near the top of the salary scale, are guys that have played last week. The angle you'll hear from a lot of people as well is travel and time change and all that. I don't want to take the guys who played at the Open, but I mean, you can't exclude everybody that's, near the top. So how much stock are you putting into that, and who do you like above 10K?
Yeah, I'm not putting too much stock into the travel angle. I think if you didn't play either event last week, that's probably maybe helpful. There's a couple guys up here in the 8 and 9Ks that I don't mind using that angle with, but the best golfers were in the field last week, so I don't think you necessarily discount any of them. Above 10K, I think I like Cam Young. Finau just hasn't been in good form. I know he's got the course history and all that, but yeah, I can't get away from those 17 strokes ball striking last week for Young. I talk about a course that, rewards good driving. He's probably one of the best in the world, and he's number one in that proximity range from 125 to 200 this year. So I think it kind of lines up well for him. We've talked about bad putters kind of having success here in the past, and that's kind of been his weakest part of his game. So I like Young. Sungjae is kind of coming around, but it just hasn't been with the ball striking, so that worries me a little bit. And then Hideki, I think Hideki's fine. I mean, he's been playing well. T7 here in 2018. But, yeah, what about you? Who do you like up there?
Yeah, I'm going to play some Finau just because I like the way the course sets up for him. If you go over a longer sample, the last 50 rounds, he leads this field in approach play. If you go down to last 36 rounds, he's fifth. So, I like Young too for the reasons that you pointed out. So I think those two are clearly my favorite. If I'm going to go up here, I'll go to one of those guys. Hideki's tee to green game has been pretty good too. I think Sungjae is probably the odd man out here for me. He's just been, merely above average in most departments, and the approach play has been a little more underwhelming if you look at those 24 36 round sample sizes. So yeah, I am still torn between Young or Finau, and then as my number one overall, and then probably Matsuyama after that. But I think you can also make some builds that start with the 9Ks. I don't think you want to go completely balanced and start with like a 8,900 golfer this week. I think there's probably too much win equity tied up in the 9 and 10K range to do that, but you can certainly start in the 9s if you want. And we got Grillo, Straka both coming off top 10s. Aberg obviously has been playing real well since he started on the PGA Tour. We've already talked about Thomas. He's obviously motivated to try to get into the playoffs. You've got Gary Woodland, great at everything except for the short game, which has been horrendous. You've got our DFS boy Jaeger in here. Where are you looking in the 9Ks?
Yeah, I'm just pushing my chips all in on the ball striking angle this week. So give me Grillo, 9,700, and give me Gary Woodland at 9,200. Woodland's been the best ball striker in the field. He'll probably lose 6 or 7 strokes putting, but he's making a bunch of cuts. So the volatility is kind of gone. He did finish T11 here in 2021. And then Grillo, I mean, he's been in good form, T6 last week at the Open, and 2 top 3 finishes here. And he's a guy that does kind of turn it around with the putting over the last year. So those are my 2 favorites. Don't mind going to Ludwig Aberg. I do think this is a good course for him, given the driving angle. And, I mean, I always play a little bit of Jaeger, but I was hoping he was going to be a lot cheaper.
Yeah, 9K surprised me as well. And so I still have the last 36 round stats pulled up. Last 36 rounds, Grillo is 122nd in this field in around the green and 4th in putting. I'm not sure what to make of that. I mean,
he's chipping it to 12 feet and then making it.
2 years ago, he would have been 122nd in putting. He was Luke List with the putter a few years back, but maybe it's been longer than 2 years. Time goes so fast, but I mean, I never would have thought at that time that he would become like an elite putter. I'm sure the true number, over a multiple year sample will probably end up landing somewhere in between there. But he certainly isn't a slouch with the putter anymore. And I do like him this week as well. Aberg on a course that will reward, aggressive pin hunting, I think will make a ton of birdies this week. I like him the most probably in this range. I can't play Thomas right now. I'm always a sucker for Woodland too, so you just hope that he doesn't miss too many putts. And Jaeger too expensive for me. I think we're pretty much in alignment here. Did you mention Straka? What do we do about him? I mean, obviously won the John Deere, went over and was in the mix last week. Is he a guy that maybe we think fatigue could be a factor at this point? Is he overperforming? What do we do with him?
For me, it's just hard to pay 9,500, given the fact that he was, $2K cheaper a couple weeks ago, and he's probably going to be popular given the form. So I don't mind the course fit, anything like that. But I just think overpriced and overowned is a bad combo for me.
Yeah, I'm okay with that as well. Give me Grillo, give me Aberg, give me Woodland in this range. I think we pretty much agree on almost everybody there. All right, so let's go ahead and move down into the 8K range here. We've got Adam Hadwin. We've got Keith Mitchell. Interested to hear if Noto will go back to the well on Patrick Rogers after being burned last week, though it wasn't necessarily his fault there at the end. I really like this course for JT Poston, who has quietly been playing better of late. These are the types of events where he just tends to play well because he can make birdies. We've seen him win easy field or easy course events, before. He's finished 28th and 11th in his 2 trips here. Feels like he could be priced right where Jaeger is, and nobody would really bat an eye. Maybe doesn't stand out quite as much statistically. Mark Hubbard actually leads this field in approach play in the last 36 rounds. I know Noto is generally a pretty big fan of Norman, and he did well for you a couple weeks ago. So while this range, they kind of feel overpriced in a weaker field, there's some guys that have been showing some ceiling here. So Poston is my favorite. Don't mind Lucas Glover as well. Another guy that if you can just cover your eyes with the short game, he's had some pretty good results here. What do you think about this 8K range?
Yeah, you mentioned Lucas Glover there at the end. He's going to be my favorite play. So he switched his putter. He went with the broomstick and the lab putter. That's kind of been the Seawood's done it. Adam Scott's done it. And it's working for him. He gained 5.4 strokes at the Rocket Mortgage, gained 3.6 at John Deere, and then, almost won the Barbasol the week after that. So 3 straight top 6s. I think it's a course that fits his game. The ball striking's been really good. So I do like Lucas Glover quite a bit. I agree with Poston. He's just solid, solid in all aspects, and kind of the same goes for Adam Hadwin. I like him quite a bit at 8,900. He didn't play neither event last week. I think that's a small positive, and he does have 2 top 6 finishes here. Everyone else, it just kind of feels like you're playing the ownership angle. If you're a Tigala truther, probably not going to get lower ownership on him ever again because he's 0 for 2 here and he's missed back-to-back cuts and he's expensive. So if you do like Tigala just in general, it's probably a good week to play him ownership-wise. And then your boy Keith Mitchell, I don't know why he's this expensive. He was almost dead last at the Barracuda last week.
Yeah, and when he gets going good, like when he gets in the right frame of mind, like that's when he can rip off top finishes. When he starts to get going bad, it usually spirals for a little bit, and you kind of see these ebbs and flows with him all the time. So I'm a Keith Mitchell fan. I wouldn't be disappointed if he wins, but probably one of those spots that maybe you throw a little bet on him or something, or you play him in a showdown and hope you kick one good round. But I think the full week tournaments this week, I'm not playing him.
Yep, the only other guy is Mark Hubbard, who really bad off the tee and everything else is great. So if he can drive it straight for 1 week, I think he'll be okay. And if he doesn't, he's probably going to miss the cut.
You're going to hit about four retees there if he hits a few drives in the water.
He's number 1 in approach.
Yeah.
Well, number 2 and number 4 over the last year. So.
And off the tees, probably bottom 3rd.
He's 133rd and 129th in the 2 times.
Worse than that's bottom. That's bottom 10th right there. What about your boy Norman?
I usually am on a guy until he wins for me, and then I'm okay just enjoying the ride after that. I played pretty well last week, but
for what it's worth, one of the events he won was one of those alternate events, right? Barbasol a couple weeks ago. That was during the first Scottish Open event there before the Open Championship. Norman picked up a W, if people are wondering what he won, because nobody else was paying attention that week to the Barbasol. But good for Norman and good for anybody that was on him or bet him that week like Noto. So, all right. This as we get into the 7K range, it gets really interesting because there is a complete lack of course history here. Rye, Højgaard, Cole, Pendrith, Akshay, Ryan Fox, like these guys have never played here, almost the whole group, until you get to Champ, who won here a couple years ago. Akshay's coming off the win last week in that alternate field event. I don't love a lot here from 7,500 to 7,900. I don't think there's anybody in, form to the point that you have to play. Maybe Eric Cole qualifies for some people, but even his off the tee numbers are a little sketchy. So I don't know. If you can sell me on somebody in here, I'll play him because I don't have anybody above 7,500 to 8K in my pool right now.
So Eric Cole is probably going to be popular, easy guy to like. You mentioned the off the tee numbers. His stats as a whole, almost exactly the same as Mark Hubbard. He's a little bit worse on approach and then much better putter than Hubbard. But the off the tee is the issue. So if he hits fairways, I think he's going to be very good this week. If he doesn't, it's going to be a disaster. Alex Noren's somewhat interesting to me. He's a guy that when I ran those course comps that I mentioned at the top of the show, he was number 2 in the field. So he likes courses with a lot of water around him. I'm interested you're not going to play Ryan Fox?
Well, I suppose I don't know. It's just a weird, we're so used to him only playing in these Euro events, and now he's playing over here more, and he's coming back from, playing the Open, and I don't know. And I'm not putting much stock into the travel angle either. I just don't know. I don't know how to feel about Ryan Fox. He's a little hit or miss at times, and there's a lot of water here. I could see him shooting a 66 or a 78.
See, I was on the fence with him too, and I was hoping you would talk me into him so I could just cross that one off.
I suppose he's all right, but I don't feel as good about him as I usually do.
I do like Austin.
I've dumped Ryan Fox, and I'm going back to Doug Gim.
Okay, yeah, for the first time ever, I like Doug Gim, which is going to be interesting. Which is actually, it might be good because I've been right on him, 90% of events because I never play him.
Hey, now.
But sorry, drive by on our boy there, Doug Gim. But Austin Eckroat, I do like him. T16 here in 2021. His numbers are just solid across the board, and he let everyone down a few weeks ago when he was like 25% or something. So hopefully he's not going to be too popular. And I do like Seabez as well. I just think the course sets up well for him. And he's another one of those guys that plays well around water for whatever reason.
All right. I will not have that much exposure to that range, obviously, for reasons that I just mentioned. Just can't really get completely sold. I'm fine with Cole, but if Cole ends up being like 20+%, I don't want to play him as that kind of chalk either. So that brings us to Doug Gim at 7,400. One of my faves, obviously, to target, about a year ago. We abandoned the Doug Gim train when it fell off the tracks kind of in the spring. But quietly from May to July, 27th, 19th, 12th, 15th, 33rd, 26th, missed the cut at the Scottish, but I am not concerned about that. I mean, that's not his type of course. The putter is always going to be the, kind of the riskier spot with him, but he has been at least competent with that lately. And if you look at everything off the tee, approach, ball striking, tee to green over the last, 2-3 months, he's in the top quarter of this field in basically everything except for putting. So, we'll get back on the Doug Gim bandwagon this week at 7,400. Lots of names here in the lower 7K range. Nobody obviously that's playing great because that's why they're this cheap in a relatively weak field. But who you liking down here?
Yeah, Mr. Gerg in the chat says Doug Gim and Garrigus. Remember when Garrigus was your guy?
Oh yeah, Garrigus. that wasn't a fad for as long, but we did hit Garrigus a few times.
We talked about it last week. You put $5 on somebody. I think it was Garrigus. It was like
it probably
300 to 1 or something.
Yeah,
but, yeah, that's pretty funny. I agree on Doug Gim. If you take out the miscut of the Scottish, 6 straight top 35s, and I'm fine playing the ball striking bad putter angle. He's got a couple top 20s here. I like Ches Reavie. He's been good here, and he's gained over 20 strokes on approach in his last 4 events. He's one of those guys. He's going to hit the fairway, so he's probably going to avoid those big numbers. And then I don't know. Do we go back to Peter Quest?
Yeah, I was just thinking about him right after I got done talking about Gim. Like, if you think that distance off the tee is important, I mean, the bomber angle has some merit, then that's your guy. I think there's a ceiling there. Like there's some risk. Obviously, his approach numbers haven't been great, but he can get it out there a long way. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it either. I could take advantage of the par fives, the drivable par four. He could miss the cut by a mile, but the small sample that we have of him has been pretty good off the tee and pretty good putting. Anyone else in this range? Are you playing, Sam Bennett or anybody?
Maybe Brandon Wu. His numbers are okay. Not spectacular, but I think he's relatively safe. Probably a pass on Ryan Palmer. His putter's gone ice cold, and he'll find the water a couple times. He'll be right there on the cut line, like we always talk about. It's probably it above 7K, I think.
Yeah, if you want to play
with
distance, Sam Stevens.
He's I don't mind that either.
Play, but not a must by any means.
I think I'd play Quest first, but if you're building, risk reward lineup, I don't find like Billy Horschel. The mighty have fallen hard with Horschel being 7,100 in this field and not being viable. But we get into kind of the 6Ks. I think there are some options here this week. And Michael Kim continues to be a great follow on Twitter or X, whatever they want to call that now. But he posted a lot of great information prior to last week's tournament. He's in the field this week. He's slowed down a bit, but still having a pretty solid year. CT Pan, I think, is a guy that's relatively interesting. I think his last 5 tournaments, like 3 missed cuts and 2 top 10s. If you're down here, just seek some upside at 68, 6,900. Pan did finish 31st here last year. You're not going to find any, glaring obvious must plays down in this range. Certainly not as many options as we saw last week, but anything standing out to you or your model in the 6Ks?
Yeah, I was going to say, Kim, I think he's spending too much time on Twitter ever since he started letting everyone in on the courses and the behind-the-scenes stuff.
His form has tailed off.
His form has tailed off. And then did you see Greg Chalmers posted, a text message he got from the payouts from the Barracuda? So he posted it, and then it said, like, payments are delayed. If you have any questions, reach out to this email address. And he marked it out, but it was like a clear black marker. So you can clearly see that.
Okay, I pulled it up right now.
So this poor email address from the PGA Tour is just going to get.
Oh, yep. You zoom in, and I can see the whole email address. You got to use a permanent marker and not a faded one. And he did not win it. I didn't win anything, so it's thumbs up.
That was pretty funny. But, yeah, I mean, I don't mind Kevin Roy down there. He's a guy I bring up a lot. Top 30 in total driving and top 20 in approach. So everything else is bad, but I don't mind him. Other than that, I don't really like anybody in the 6Ks.
Yeah, not too much down here. I'm going to play some CT Pan. Maybe go back to some Carson Young, but he's tailed off a bit the last couple tournaments. That was fun for a little while. But outside of that, not too much I like down here either. All right, let's try to find a snake draft. Again, if you're not familiar, we try to do a snake draft on DraftKings at the end of the show. Generally just a 6-person snake draft nowadays. The 12s became a little bit too hard to fill. But if you do not wish to hear a little bit of dead air and some discussion of the snake draft, feel free to tune out now. But before you do, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on the video. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the RotoGrinders YouTube channel. Appreciate that very much to help beat the YouTube algorithms there. And if you are interested in the snake draft, stay tuned. So thanks to those of you who are hopping off. And as always, we appreciate you checking us out. All right. Noto knows the drill. We do a 6-person snake draft on DraftKings for $5. There is a $5 snake draft right now that is 0 out of 6. So I'm going to attempt to join that. Now it's 1 out of 6, and I am number 2 out of 6. And we will fill that up, and then I will share my screen, and we will we'll go through the draft. All right, up to 4 out of 6 now. So massive heat wave taking over the central part of the United States this week. It is supposed to be 101 degrees here in northern Illinois on Thursday. 101 degrees air temperature. So not a whole lot of outside activities will be had. So that makes more time to watch some golf on Thursday and Friday. But
JWH, if you just filled. Hopefully you got in it. He was just asking about the draft.
Oh, nope. We got we got a lot of the usual suspects. Gasman, Gerg is in. Right Hook, I think, is the only name I don't recognize on there. All right, I gotta close
he made
out.
it. JWH, what's your username?
Oh, he must be Right Hook then.
Okay. Are you in the RotoGrinders fantasy football draft or whatever?
Oh shoot, the mock draft. You got the first pick.
I did, and I forgot, and then Justin wrote me. Luke wrote me, luckily.
I should see. I looked the other night and it's like 8 hours per pick, right?
Yeah.
I looked the other night and I was picking 10th, so it's probably not to me yet, but I am almost guaranteed to forget.
Yeah.
Unless I get a text or a notification or something. Where are we at? Let's see. I gotta look at that quick. Draft room. Okay, we're on the 5th pick right now, and I am picking 10th. So yeah, we got a little time. Well, you didn't get stuck with a kicker in the first round or anything. All right, our snake draft is loaded up. We're starting in 30 seconds. I'm gonna share my screen.
Are you familiar with the underdog drafts for the FedEx Cup?
Not for the FedEx Cup. I have done a couple of the football ones. We've done a few of those live on the air on Sirius XM. So that's helping me get my football. I'm not usually a football in July kind of guy, but we've gotten there this year. So.
And we'll have to do one of these on the show next week, these underdog ones.
Yeah, can you do underdog where you're at?
I believe so, yeah.
There's a few states that are wonky about it, but yeah, I'm cool with that as well. All right. Tony Finau going first. All right, I got 3rd pick here. I'm not used to picking. I'm not used to picking kind of in the middle. I'll take Hideki. I said I was off Sanjay this week, so go to the draft board. Tricky picking in the middle.
I don't like anybody right here.
Yeah, tough spot.
Guess I'll take Gary too early.
I mean, I don't. I was gonna say I don't know how far Sanjay will fall, but. Yeah, you got a tough pick. That spot's not the best spot to pick from. You didn't have.
You talked about not having that range as your most expensive guy at the start of the show, and that's what I got. Snake.
I'm happy getting Abert 10th. That's fine with me. Who will have the stones to take Justin Thomas? That is the question.
You know he's going to play well, and then he's going to get in the playoffs. He's going to go on a run.
I don't know.
That's get on the Ryder Cup.
I mean, he's been so bad.
But wasn't he like top 10 a couple weeks ago? Somewhere?
Maybe one tournament, but I thought he faded at the end. Let's see, I'm going to pull up his,
Thomas Lehman's in the field? Like old Tom Lehman?
Oh, it's got to be a kid.
Yeah, he was
9th at the Travelers. So, but cut 60, cut 9, cut 65. I don't know. It's just not Justin Thomas like.
Yeah.
All right. I got to get ready for my next pick because this range gets fairly tough. Ooh, Poston. There goes my pick. You know what? I'm going to take Tigala here. I think he's a good fit in a draft where you get a bench spot. I like the upside.
Oh, man. Another range where I don't like anybody.
Well, posted about 20 minutes ago that Akshay has withdrawn.
Say that. So. He can't break my heart again. I'm beating somebody. All right, I'm going to go Hubbard. Hope he can keep it in play.
Yeah, this range, I mean, you start to get quite a few interchangeable pieces in here.
If we like bombing, do we like Pendrith at all?
Yeah, I don't think that's the worst. Miscut 6th
Nikolai
and 14th.
is a pretty good bomber too.
Really surprised that that nobody's taken Patrick Rogers yet. 16th in the rankings, and I'll take him at 22, I guess. I was going to be happy enough taking Cole there or Norman, but I'll take Rogers. There goes Pendrith and Eric Cole. Speaking of him. What happened to Kuchar? He was a thing for a while this spring.
He was, but man, his ball striking is so bad. He's going to find a lot of water, I think.
Yeah, this isn't the place for him, I don't think either.
He's not even accurate anymore. Although, how about that Rembrandt guy? He looked just like Kuchar. That amateur?
The old doppelganger there.
Yeah. And then he went from first round leader to made the cut on the number, and I'm glad he made the cut though.
I woke up at 7 o'clock or something on Thursday, and I was like, "What is this leaderboard with the guys that were up there after the first wave on Thursday?" It was pretty wild. All right, 5 rounds down, 2 to go. There goes Ryan Fox. There goes Nikolai. Oh, man, 1 pick away from Doug Gim. Gerg, don't do it to me. All right.
Oh, Gergen, he's the one that always brings him up.
I know it. I was pretty certain I might lose my boy to Gerg there, so thank you. Maybe he just did me a solid and didn't want to steal my thunder, so if so, thanks. There goes Brandon Wu. He's another name that I think is okay as a relatively safe pick, kind of down in this range. If you're looking to try to get a 6-6 lineup, don't hate Brandon Wu this week. As we approach the last round here, I'll go back to the board. There goes Kuchar. He made it on a team this week anyhow.
Is Billy Horschel ever going to be good again?
I mean, there's a lot of times if it's just like one element of somebody's game or something, you can maybe make a case, but his whole game has been bad. And even when he was good, I mean, he was kind of outperforming his metrics. You know, he'd get the hero chip-ins from off the green and whatnot. I don't know. I was never a Horschel guy, though, so I'm probably not the one to ask.
Oh, you took Quest, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, went for the upside here with this draft this week. So
Taylor Montgomery, he was so far down my model, didn't even know he was in the field. I wrote like 60 notes today in the model. Didn't even notice him.
He has gone from very impressive to very bad very quickly. All right, that's it. The draft is done for this week. So Noto's got Woodland, Hadwin, Hubbard, Noren, Champ, Nikolai, and Stevens. And admittedly did not like his draft spot. And I must admit that is a tough spot this week. So if you do any more 6-man drafts, just hope you're not picking like 5 or 6. It's not a great spot. Matsuyama, Aberg, Thigala, Rogers, Norman, Gim, and Quest for me. And should be a fun week of golf. We both like this golf course. I think it'll provide some good entertainment. Hopefully we get some drama on Sunday and get some winning DFS lineups and some winning bets. So thanks, as always, to our producer, Steve, for working hard behind the scenes for us. Noto, anything else before we get out of here?
No, should be a fun week. And, thanks for joining. Thanks for listening and watching and reading our content.
All right, check us out. Stay here on the RotoGrinders YouTube channel. Subscribe. Get a notification every time we go live with MLB heading down the stretch the next couple of months, keeping track of those lineups. Weather heading up to lineup lock, always important. Football will be here before we know it, and then the beast that is NBA will is only probably about 2 or 3 months away at this point. So time goes by so fast, and we'll have you covered here at RotoGrinders. Thanks as always for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you back here next week, and catch you later.